Well, y'all, looks like the Lions are ready to move on from Matthew Stafford. They're not going to release him, so it's not like we can just get him for free. We're going to have to trade for him. But in this video, I want to dive into what his contract situation may be like, what it would take to get him as far as trade picks possibly, what his injury history is like. Everybody knows how good he is, but I'm going to talk about that briefly because it seems like some people don't exactly know how good he is, even though he's been on a losing team. It hasn't really been his fault. And I also want to talk about how he compares against getting maybe like a Deshaun Watson or trading up in the draft for a quarterback or staying where we're at and taking like a Jones or Trask. And also, once you have Stafford, how do we build around him? How do we create a Super Bowl winner? We're going to talk about all of that and more. Let's get it. Alright, so first of all, the breaking news. In an arrangement the two sides have discussed and mutually agreed upon, the Lions and quarterback Matthew Stafford from Georgia are expected to part ways this offseason, with Detroit listening to trade offers for its former #1 overall pick starting this week. And this comes from Stafford expressing that he wants a fresh start and he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild, which it looks like the Lions may be a part of. And there's an obvious connection between the Washington football team and Matthew Stafford. Our recently hired GM in Martin Mayhew is literally the guy that drafted Matthew Stafford to the Lions years ago. I mean, the connection is clearly there, and if Matthew Stafford would have a preference for who he would play for, it'd be us because of our defense, Terry McLaurin, our cap space to go get more weapons around him. And then the GM for this team loves him. He's the guy that went and spent a #1 overall pick on Stafford in the 2009 draft. If anybody loves Stafford, it's Martin Mayhew. And he tried to do whatever he could to put a good team around him, but it just didn't work out. But now with Martin Mayhew, Marty Hurney, and Ron Rivera together, they should be able to put together a great roster around this guy. Kyle Smith will be missed, but it's clear that Ron Rivera just wanted nothing to do with anybody that had any forms of likeness to Bruce Allen. I mean, any type of communication, shook hands with him. If you said hi to him out in public, Ron Rivera doesn't want you on the roster or in the coaching staff, front office, or whatever. I mean, he doesn't like anybody that had anything to do with Bruce Allen. I feel like it's a little overboard, but I mean, Kyle Smith has had his high moments. He was drafting Curl in the 7th, and Terry McLaurin in the 3rd, Antonio Gibson in the 3rd, Chase Roulier in the 6th, Cole Holcomb and Tim Settle in the 5th. But he's also been Troy Apke, Jerron Christian, Sean Dion Hamilton, Ryan Anderson, all of these guys. So, I mean, he had his ups and downs. I definitely preferred to keep him, but it's not like we just lost this irreplaceable guy. And I wish him the best of luck wherever he goes. But it's clear to see that Ron Rivera wants guys that are connected. Like I said, Martin Mayhew also makes trades easier for us because he's connected. It's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. And he has good relationships with other organizations in the NFL. So when he's trying to trade for a guy or trade away a guy, the trade is more favorable for the team that he's working for because, you know, friends do favors for each other a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a competitive sport and it's business, but a GM that is well connected with an organization is far more likely to have to trade away less value to get the same player than just a random stranger organization that has no prior connections or relationships with the team in question, for example, the Lions. So if anybody can get Stafford for, hopefully, in my preference, not a first-round pick, it would be Martin Mayhew, if any organization can. And it's been stated by Ron Rivera, Marty Hurney, and Martin Mayhew that they're going for quarterback big this offseason, whether it be through trade, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, or through the draft, trading up for a guy. Either way, there's going to be a new big quarterback name in DC this offseason. Again, whether it be through trade or trading up in the draft, because they said they're going to take a big swing at quarterback. So if we don't get one through free agency or through trade like in Matthew Stafford or somebody, then we're trading up in the draft. They're not going to just wait at 19 for a guy. They want their guy this year. They're ready to move forward with the guy that they feel like they can win Super Bowls with. Whether he's already ready like a Stafford or Watson, or somebody you have to develop like a Lance, Fields, or Wilson. But keep in mind that when you're trading for Stafford, the Lions' main goal right now is to be able to move up from that 7th overall pick to be able to trade up to get a guy. And I've been saying this for months. The Lions were planning on parting ways with Stafford, and people kept telling me the Lions did not want a quarterback, and I've been saying it for months. Stafford has been talking about leaving for a while now. It's only a matter of time. And they would likely trade Stafford or whatever and end up taking a quarterback in this draft. Now looking like they're definitely taking a quarterback in this draft. And they're even willing to trade up from number 7. So whatever trade value we would give them to get Matthew Stafford is going to have to be good enough to move from 7 to a higher pick to get like a Wilson or whoever they may prefer. But literally, Martin Mayhew and Marty Hurney main goals, I'm pretty sure this was asked in every interview with every GM and strongly discussed, was what is your plan at future quarterback for this organization? What is your plan for acquiring and or developing a future quarterback for this team so we can go win Super Bowls? What is your long-term plan at quarterback? And at the end of the day, Marty Hurney made a good decision in taking Cam Newton. Martin Mayhew made a good decision in taking Matthew Stafford. And sadly, as much as we love Kyle Smith, he hasn't hit on quarterback yet. So maybe Ron Rivera was just being super strict and being a big stickler just on that alone. Martin and Marty have drafted good quarterbacks. Have you type of thing, just extra petty? I don't know. Who knows? But it's very clear that the Washington football team is monitoring the situation according to multiple sources. And like I said, they're planning on taking a big swing at quarterback. We love Taylor Heinicke, we all do, but at the end of the day, you can't expect him to be durable enough to play an entire season. And at the very best, Taylor Heinicke may start with a top quarterback drafted in this draft learning behind him. But that's at best. I think Taylor Heinicke is just basically going to be a great backup for us, especially if you trade for like a Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford is a baller. I mean, coming from me, UGA fan, I probably love him more than anybody else in the Washington fan base. But I would be lying if I said I preferred Stafford over, like, you know, trading up for Lance or Wilson and letting them learn for a year or two if they have to, or over a Deshaun Watson that immediately makes you a Super Bowl contender, a top 5 team in the NFL, even before free agency and the draft hits. But with Matthew Stafford, Pro Football Focus has him graded the 13th best quarterback in the NFL. He's easily top 15. You can possibly argue top 10, just, you know, with a bad team, it's hard for people to notice. But with the way our roster is currently constructed, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. Now, we can easily win this division. You may be able to win a playoff game or two. But currently, right now, before free agency and before the draft, this roster with Matthew Stafford is not good enough to beat the best of the best in the NFL. But it's definitely a step forward. And we're going to talk about Matthew Stafford's contract soon. With the cap hits that he's due to deal to this team, you'll still have enough money to possibly go and get yourself 1 or 2 special names in free agency. Maybe like an Allen Robinson, and then you have to maybe save the rest of the money to re-sign guys. That's one of the main reasons I prefer like a Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, because then you can have the money to get Allen Robinson, Levante David, and somebody else if you want to. I mean, that's just how much cap space that leaves open. But with Matthew Stafford, you could probably at least go get 1 big name, maybe even 2. You may be able to convince like a Allen Robinson, Levante David, or whoever y'all want, Corey Davis, to maybe take less money at the opportunity of going to a Super Bowl contending team. Great defense. You already have Terry McLaurin, so Allen Robinson's always going to be open. Levante David, this front 4 is the best front 4 you'll ever play for in your career. And then Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera are your coaches, so there's great reasons to want to join this team as a free agent, especially with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. We become a free agent destination, and players may be willing to take less money to play for us, a possible Super Bowl contender, than what they would ask for another team. Or even just the old Washington football team, even just the old burgundy and gold from years ago, before Ron Rivera. Not even that far back, where free agents were basically charging us an arm and a leg because they knew once they came here, their careers were basically going to just go here to die and wouldn't really amount to much winning. But now that we actually show hope and we show that we have a culture and we can win, and then you bring in somebody like a Matthew Stafford, easily a top 15, arguably top 10 quarterback in the NFL, free agents will look at us and be like, hey man, I can go there and win. So I'd be willing to take a little less money and take my shots at the Super Bowl rather than getting more money on a team that's just, you know, in the middle somewhere, which we used to be, middle and bottom. But as far as Stafford goes, this last season, he had a 64.2 completion percentage, 4,084 passing yards, and that's without his best weapon, Kenny Golladay. I mean, Kenny Golladay probably played, like 3-4 games this season, if that. He's going to love Terry McLaurin, and if we pick up somebody else, Matthew Stafford may go for 5,000 with us. He had 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, not bad. He had a 96.3 passer rating. And it's crazy too, because this is his first time having 4,000 yards since 2017. But again, with his wide receiver staying hurt, his defense being pretty bad. It's just been hard to produce for this organization, for that Lions organization. And just to let y'all know, he will be 33 in February next month. So he'll be 33 going into the season, which isn't super. I mean, Tom Brady is, of course, like this just rare, once in a lifetime type of situation, but Tom Brady's 43. I feel like Matthew Stafford can play at a top 15, top 10 level for at least the next 5 years. And as far as cap space goes, he will be a $20 million hit this next season and $23 million the season after that. Deshaun Watson in comparison is $15 million this next season, $5 million less. But then he'll be $40 million, then $40 million, and $30-something million, and $30-something million. So Watson definitely costs more to get in a trade, and he costs more money-wise and cap hit-wise. Now, I'm not exactly sure what Matthew Stafford may look like contract-wise as far as 2023 and beyond goes, but at least we know 2021 he's $20 million and 2022 is $23 million, which isn't bad. That would put him at the 16th highest paid quarterback cap hit-wise in the NFL. He'd be getting paid less than Teddy Bridgewater. If Alex Smith were to for some reason stay, which is just not going to happen, he'd be getting paid less than him, less than Derek Carr, less than Jimmy Garoppolo, less than Ryan Tannehill, less than Kirk Cousins, less than Carson Wentz, way less than Jared Goff. And that's great value right there, point blank period. That is excellent value. And one of my favorite things about Stafford is that he's tough, man. He plays through all types of injuries. I don't want to label him as injury prone, but he has gone through several injuries, but he plays through them by far the most of the time. Let's look at his injury history. October 4th, 2009, knee patella dislocation. He dislocated his patella against the Bears, and it cost him 2 games. Had minor surgery for it in December. So he just played through that and then waited till December to finally get surgery for it. Then November 22nd, 2009, he had a shoulder AC joint separation. Same time that he's dealing with this injury. He played the next 2 games before sitting out the final 4 with that separated shoulder, which is when he finally went ahead and just got surgery on the knee patella. And then in 2010, he missed 5 games from that same shoulder AC joint separation. And then he finally came back, but then November 7th, 2010, he re-injured his shoulder and just finally went into surgery for it in January. So 2010 and 2009 weren't good years for him. Then 2011, he had a pedal ankle sprain, but he didn't miss any time for it. Then he also had a hand finger fracture. Didn't miss any time for that also. Then he had a hand finger dislocation. And then from halfway through 2011 all the way up to 2016, December 9th, he didn't have any injuries. He had a clean 5 years of just being fully healthy. And then December 9th, 2016, he had another hand finger dislocation and didn't miss any time for it. Most of his injuries throughout his career, he didn't miss time for it. But then November 3rd, 2019, he had a back tailbone fracture, which ended his season. So from November 3rd, week 9, from there on, the rest of that season, he didn't play in 2019. So over the course of his career since he was drafted in 2009, he's missed less than 20 games, which isn't great. But I mean, again, even when he gets injured, most of the time he just plays through it. And then he's just had some freak accidents that have cost him half of seasons. But other than that, I wouldn't necessarily label him an injury-prone guy. I mean, especially since he plays through most of his injuries anyway. And plays at a pretty high level. And just to let y'all know, for like the exact contract breakdown, with the 2 years and $43 million left in his deal, $9.5 million of it is salary, with a $10 million roster bonus plus $500K workout bonus in 2021. Then $12.5 million salary plus a $10 million roster bonus plus $500K workout bonus in 2022. And that is a very team-friendly deal for us to look at, honestly. Again, especially compared to how much other quarterbacks are being paid who are not even as good as him. He's high value there. Again, like I've said, Watson makes you an immediate Super Bowl contender. But, I mean, the asking price may just be so crazy, you may end up mortgaging your future. And then, if you're trading away players to get Watson, remember, the way this team currently is now with Watson as a Super Bowl contender. But if you have to give away Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Terry McLaurin, one of them, or even a combination of 2 or more of them, then now you're no longer a Super Bowl contender. This is a different roster he's coming to. And then trading up for Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, I believe in those guys. I think they're going to be great, but Matthew Stafford is easily a more surefire thing and a safer bet. So either of these 3 options I'm happy with. Trading up in the draft for a guy, trading for Deshaun Watson, even though that Deshaun Watson one scares me because it's all about the price. If the price is not good, if they're asking for too much for us to compete against the Jets and the Dolphins or whoever else, then I'm not interested in that at all. Which would leave me with Matthew Stafford and trading up in the draft as my favorite 2 options. But yeah, man, you get Stafford and like an Allen Robinson or somehow work your magic and get healthy version of Kenny Golladay or maybe even a Corey Davis, and we can contend in 2021, especially if we draft well, if we have another free agency where we're getting guys playing well outside of their contracts like a Ronald Darby, Cornelius Lucas, JD McKissick. If we can repeat that magic again and again draft well, it's over with. Especially if you don't have to give up a first round pick for Matthew Stafford. I've been seeing that we may be able to just get him for like a second, a later third, and maybe like a fifth or something. If you don't give up a first round pick for Matthew Stafford and we can hold on to that 19th pick to potentially get like a very talented linebacker, safety, receiver if you don't get Allen Robinson in free agency. Say you go and get Levante David at linebacker. Now you can take potentially like a Jalen Waddle or Jamar Chase if they slide that far. Maybe you even trade up just a little bit to make sure you get one of those elite receivers if you want to. We've seen in recent history that you can find great receiver talent later in the draft, so you don't have to take one round one, but there's so many options out there for us to look at. You may be able to even get a lockdown corner with the 19th pick. So I mean, if you can get Stafford without having to give away a first round pick, that's a home run pickup in free agency. And I believe we run this NFC East for at least as long as Stafford is healthy and on contract with this team. We'll be the first team to win the NFC East in back-to-back years in like 15 years or something like that. Yeah, man, definitely get in the comments and let me know how y'all feel about potentially getting Matthew Stafford. What do you think the asking price may be? And be realistic. I don't want to hear about these dream case scenarios. We give away a 4th round pick and a bag of Lay's and now we get Matthew Stafford. I'm talking about like real scenarios that you feel like we may have to give up to get Matthew Stafford. How do y'all feel about extending him? How much money do you think he'll ask for in an extension? Do you feel like we're Super Bowl contenders with him, how the roster is currently constructed? And if not, like me, who do you feel like we need in free agency and the draft to turn us into a top 6 team in the 2021 NFL season and beyond? And also definitely get in the comments, let me know if you think it's actually pretty likely. Do you think this is a real possibility that we can end up getting Matthew Stafford? The dots are there, the connections are there, the drive is there on this end. We just have to see how he feels about us. We'll probably get some updates on what he feels about a potential trade to the burgundy and gold may feel like for him. But yeah, man, definitely get in the comments and let me know how y'all feel about all of that. Please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe. If you haven't, hit the bell next to the subscription button. And as always, man, I really appreciate all of the support, man. Everybody that gives to the channel, everybody that donates. Big shouts out to all of my sponsors out there, especially the Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. I really appreciate y'all. And man, let's get it, burgundy and gold. It's time, man. It's time. We're just a couple of pieces away from being true Super Bowl contenders, and quarterback is one of them. Let's go make this an offseason we'll never forget in this franchise's history. Let's get it. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.